In this 7th lesson on the CAGED system, we're now going to have you start to learn to play and apply the minor chord partials of the C, A, G, E, and D minor chord forms of the CAGED system. All right, so let's get to it. But before we start the lesson, press that little red button down there in the right-hand corner to subscribe to Outsmart Your Guitar. If you press the notification bell, you'll also be told when new content is available, which is around once a week. Outsmart Your Guitar is also on Patreon. So if you go over there and subscribe at one of the 2 levels, you will have access to even more material than is featured here on YouTube. And you'll have the benefit of also supporting my efforts to create and present high quality material and to continue to do so for your benefit, to help you learn, play, and grow to be the guitar player you desire to be. Sound good? All right. Okay, let's get back to it. All right. The first chord, of course, is the C form of the minor chord. So we're going to play a C minor here in G. Now I'm choosing G, it's arbitrary. You can choose whatever C form you want. You want to play it in A, move it up here, move it to B, wherever you want to play it. I'm just choosing G. So that's the full boat minor chord in the C form of the G minor chord. We're going to drop that lower note on the 10th fret of the 5th string, and we're just going to play these 3 notes right here because we have a root right there, and that'll be your guide. G, D, C, G, because our progression is G minor, D minor, C minor, back to G minor. Start all over again. So that becomes your guide to help you know where to place it, right? So first I'm going to do atmospheric, then arpeggiate. 3, 4. Pretty straightforward. The third diagram you'll note is the same shape, but we're adding this here because we have the same note here. It's a B flat. So we're just adding that to add a little more brightness to it. So what we'll do is we'll arpeggiate this one. 3, 4. Okay, pretty cool stuff. Now, the next 2 diagrams you'll see are bottom heavy. So you have that right there. So you can comp that. You can arpeggiate it, right? And because we have a D there as part of it, we can shift from this D to that D and be a little more bottom heavy. We can arpeggiate, we can comp. It's up to you. So, now what you want to do is pause the video, and if you got the looper, play a progression such as the G minor, D minor, C minor, and G minor, and play over it with these partials and see what you come up with, and really have fun experimenting with the possibilities of this C minor form. Okay? Then, after you've done that for a few minutes, restart the video and we'll keep going. All right, now we have the A form of the minor chord. So we're just going to play it in D. So the A form of the D minor chord. And that's the left diagram. The next diagram, we just remove the root there because we have a root there on the third string. And you play those 4 strings. You can confine yourself to just these 3 strings or these 3 strings as the third and fourth diagrams show. So let's look at this. You can go very straightforward stuff, right? Okay. So then let's do that. 3, 4. Now, the fun thing you can do is you can now blend the C form that we just learned with the A form. We're going to stick with the G minor, D minor, C minor, G minor progression, right? So what we can do is we can start with these and then move up to the D form or the C form of the D and the C form of the C minor. G minor, D minor, C minor, G minor, right? So let's hear how that sounds. So now when you start blending the different forms together, you start increasing the possibilities and you don't have to jump all over the fretboard, right? And that's part of the cool thing here. So let's start with the C form of the G minor and go to the A form of the D and C minor chords. 3, 4. So it starts to get more interesting and you don't have to move around as much. So pause the video and start experimenting with C forms of chords and A forms of chords. All right? And see what you can come up with. Because now we're dealing strictly with minors. And so just stay strictly with that for the moment, okay? Then see what you can come up with. Play around with it. And if you want to change keys, go ahead, do that as well. And if you want to change the progression from what I've suggested, you can do that as well. It doesn't matter what the progression is. Again, just remember to keep it simple. Don't try to be overly clever, all right? Then, after you've done that for a little while, restart the video and we'll move forward. The G form of the minor chord is functionally near impossible to play. I'm just going to play it in D, a little bit of it, right? I'm just going to play the bottom part of that because getting those it's functionally impossible for me. I mean, I could do this, but then laying that little finger down, yeah, see, it's just not practical. So we play this, we play just those bits there, maybe with that, right? In the second diagram, or we do a little hybrid from the A form and the G form. So we blend them a little bit. And then we can do this. Whoops, we can do that. We can even do a little partial like that, a little spread out voicing. So there's a lot of different ways to go about this, sort of, to help you have more possibilities. So we've changed the progression. Now we've got a C minor, and we're going to add a couple of majors here. A flat major, a G minor, and a B flat major. So we're going to use partials here for this. First, we're going to start with the A form of the C minor, and we're going to go to the E form of the A flat. And then we're going to go to the C form of the G minor, and then the E form of the B flat. All right? That'll be our first pass. Okay, here we go. 3, 4. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. Give you an idea what's going on. Now you'll notice very tight voicing going on there as well. Now we can do it again up here. We have the C minor played with the C form. We have the A form of the A flat, and then we have the A form of the G minor and the C form of the B flat. Okay? 3, 4. So you have some pretty cool stuff you can do. So what you can do is you can actually start off high and move down to right. So you can combine the two to create a little longer sounding passage, right? So you can do that over 2 passes of the progression to make one long sounding run over the top of it to make it even a little bit more complex sounding without actually being more difficult to play. All right? So these are just a couple of examples of what you can do. So pause the video and come up with your own thing. Again, my progression was C minor to A flat, to G minor, to B flat. Okay? And that way we're mixing major and minor partials together to create a more interesting companion part to the, regular strummed part. And that's what this is all about, is to help you create more engaging rhythm parts so you're not both playing the same thing. Partials is the means to really make that pop and have a lot more interesting stuff going on. Okay, so again, take your time here, play around with some ideas, and then really explore this, because you want to get this clear in your head. Then, when you're ready to continue, we'll move forward. Here is the E form of the minor chord. So we're just going to play a B minor here. Very very straightforward, full bar version of the B of the minor chord, right? Now, get rid of that and just play those. And then we can play all 4 of those, or just 3 if we want, and then the top 3. So there's 3 ways to play partials based on the E form of the minor chord. Now I put together a progression that's a E minor, or a B minor, excuse me, using the E form, an E minor using the A form, a D using the A form, an A using the E form, an F sharp minor on the E form, a G on the E form, and an A on the E form. Okay? And that's the progression I'm going to play over. Now, what I'm going to do is a little bit different this time. It's a little more complex to show you the complexities that you can include here. So the first example, the E form of the B minor, just playing 3 strings, and then the A form, playing the same 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Now we go to the A form of the D, or excuse me, the G form of the D. A little passing tone stuff to get to the E form of the A. And then I'm going to use the C form of the F sharp minor, the C form of the G, a little bit of passing to get to the E form of the A, and then we're going to move, using our 3rd finger as the guide, up to the C form of the A, up to the A form of the A. Okay? It's a little complex, I get it. If you need to rewind to walk through that again, do so. Now, I'm going to play over the progression and show you some of the possibilities that playing partials and little single note connectors really can create for you. 3, 4. And that just gives you a little taste of the possibilities. Now, we can play it another way. Start with our B minor here in the A form. Go to the C form of the E minor, right? And then we can go to the C form of the D, right? And then the G form of the A. And then we can play a little bit of the E form of the F sharp minor. The G for the E form, go up to the C form of the G, come back to the E form of the A, move up to the C form, and then the A form of the A. All right? So I know that gets a little bit involved as well. So here we go. 3, 4. Right? So you have this climbing thing going on to get up to that climactic moment, right? And that's the kind of stuff you can do. And this is just scratching the surface. So pause the video. And again, if you want to play the progression I just created for you, the B minor, E minor, D, A, F sharp minor, G, and A. This gives you the opportunity to really flex stuff, and you're playing a whole lot of forms here, right? We just haven't covered the D form, which is coming up next. So after you've played around with this for a while, the next thing you want to do is press play, and we're going to get to the very last form. The final form is the D minor form of the CAGED system. Here, I'm just going to play it in B for the sake of playing it someplace. Now, we have the simple form in the middle there, just playing the 3 notes there, with your root being on the 2nd string. Now, the third diagram on the right is, you'll recognize the hybrid from the C form and the D form. As I mentioned earlier, this is the C form, right? And we're just taking that much of it, adding this from that D form of the minor chord. So we create the hybrid here. And this is the hybrid of a D minor, or a B minor, excuse me, using the D form or the hybrid D minor, C minor form. Okay? So now we've got the same progression going, but I've slowed it down because we're going to be playing the top 3 strings, and we're just going to be strumming apart. We're going to play this version of the E form of the B minor partial, the A form of the E minor partial, again the A form of the D chord, and then the E form of the A, the D minor form of the F sharp, the C form, or the D form, if you want to call it that, of the G, going back to the E form of the G, up to the E form of the A. Then we're going to add a little note there to start a climb up to the D form of the A, adding the high E note to finish it off. Now, if you want to walk through that again, feel free to rewind at any time to see what I'm doing here. So here's what's going on. Let me play through it. 3, 4. Okay, so that's the essence of it. And that just shows how you can create a little more excitement. You don't have to arpeggiate everything as I did previously. Here, I slowed it down so that it would have a little, it would dig a little bit more. Same progression though. Okay, so that is the essence of what we're talking about here. You can add little things to make it more interesting. There's lots of things I could have done. I could have gone to get it a little less, a little more busy, right? Right? Put in a little BB lick. But the idea here is to mix it up and do things a little bit different than maybe you're used to. And that's the whole idea of playing around with arpeggiations, little chord partials. This whole part was done on the top 3 strings, right? So there you go. Pause the video. You've got all the forms now. Create a nice progression if you don't want to use this progression. It's up to you. You can create a little more involved progressions now that you understand this a little better. But don't go crazy. And think about what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to say when you add these partials in. This is the idea. I've, again, just scratched the surface of the possibilities. Okay? So now you take this and you run with it and see what you can come up with. I bet you'll find some really amazing and cool stuff. So when you're done experimenting, and I do encourage you, let this video pause for a while and just go at it. Immerse yourself in these concepts and really dig into it and see what you can come up with. Then, when you're ready, restart the video and we'll wrap it up. All right. I really gave you some challenging stuff to do here, and I showed you some of the possibilities here in the last few rounds to help you understand there are a lot of things that are going on that I didn't actually get to because I didn't want to bog you down with too much information, but I wanted to expose you here in the last couple of segments with optional things that you can add in. You don't have to stay strictly within certain boundaries. You can go beyond those boundaries and start to expand by adding passing runs to get between each of the chords, however you want to do it, right? And that's the whole idea of why I went about it the way I went about it, to help you see initially, here's what you're trying to accomplish. Now, here are the possibilities that you are actually wanting to go through. This is why you want to learn this stuff, so you can do this kind of thing. And that's why I touched on those things here towards the end. All right? So basically, again, take your time here. You really want to marinate in this. Let it really sink in and spend a lot more time than you think you need to get this stuff worked into your routine, i.e. your normal playing habits. That's when things start to really become a part of you, is when you purposefully create opportunities to make the things you learn part of your normal playing habits, right? Okay, that'll wrap it up for this lesson. When you're ready for the next lesson, it will be there, as will I, as I always say. See you there.